Part 6. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Crisp Bone. Chapter 51. Chapter 51, the third live broadcast. The melon seeds are in place, waiting for the anchor to work. The anchor is so punctual, it's worth me squatting here 10 minutes early. Let me know, are there any strange and destined people today? I have prepared pen and paper to see what wise words the host can say today. One thing I have to say is that since I watched King Zhuxianjun's live broadcast, I have never been able to curse anyone. As soon as Pei Anzu started broadcasting, the barrage started rolling very fast. The data of the live broadcast room has been soaring, and the number of viewers has increased to 70,000 in a short period of time, and the trend is still rising. In these barrages, she also saw several familiar names. Meet by Chance, Adventurer Xiaoying, Love Never Forget, etc., are all former destined people who have overcome difficulties with her help. Hello everyone, I am King Zhu Immortal Lord, and welcome everyone to my live broadcast room. Pei Anzu greeted everyone. I think everyone is already familiar with the process, so without further ado, let's get started. After saying this, Pei Anzu stopped talking and waited for the destined person to come to the door. There are no more scumbags in the live broadcast room. Probably because they have seen her invincible verbal skills and her ability to beat up ghosts with her bare hands, many people are in awe of her and dare not offend her again. Seeing that Pei Anzu was silent, the audience caught Adventurer Xiaoying and several of their old customers and asked them about the details of the last live broadcast. In order to make Pei Anzu famous, Zhou Ying and the others said everything they could. For a while, the live broadcast room was very lively, everyone was chatting, and they didn't care that no new destined people showed up. After waiting for about half an hour, colorful lights appeared on the screen, and then transformed into a sea view villa. The first destined person appeared, and his name was Krypton Gold Changes Life. After rewarding the Sea View Villa, this Krypton Money Changes Life immediately sent a video link, and Pei Anzu quickly connected. The person who appeared on the screen was a boy of about 18 years old. He was wearing trendy clothes with skulls printed on them, a metal chain hanging around his neck, and his hair dyed in several colorful colors. He has 5 earrings on his ears, 3 on the left and 2 on the right. There is a lip stud hanging from the corner of his mouth. Looking up, he even has a nose ring. The whole person looked draggy. The moment he appeared on the screen, the barrage went silent. Unexpectedly, today's first destined person is actually a young man with an unconventional spirit, who has the air of a bad boy all over his body. Soon, the audience in the live broadcast room became active. 666. This guy is a social person. Which road is it on? Can you get a discount if you name me when you go out? If I dress up like this, my mother will beat me until my real father doesn't even recognize me. Brother, the pattern is too small, you should also get a tattoo on your body, with a green dragon on the left and a white tiger on the right, with a red bird in front and a basalt in the back. Your style will suddenly be high. In addition, some people speculated whether he was here to cause trouble. Hello, what do you want to do? Pei Anzu asked softly. She never judges people by their appearance. The young man in front of me looks very social, but in fact, his aura is clean and pure. The decorations on his body do not mean that he is hanging around outside, but it is purely a personal hobby. When Pei Anzu asked the question, his eyes immediately turned red, and he pursed his lips and said, King Zhu Immortal Lord, can you help me find my dog? My dog is missing. It's a big golden retriever. It was left to me by my grandfather. It accompanied my grandfather in the last years of his life. After my grandfather died, he didn't want anyone and just followed me, so I took him home. I have had it for more than a year now, and it is very familiar with my home. It is very smart. After walking in the community every day, it knows that it is coming back. But 2 days ago, it disappeared after going out. I can't find it anywhere. As he spoke, he started to cry and looked pitiful. Audiences. We thought you were a street fighter with a brick in his left hand and a bat in his right hand, but you turned out to be a who snaps at the slightest disagreement? This contrast immediately confused the audience. Pei Anzu stared at the screen for a long time. Krypton gold changes life. At first, I thought Pei Anzu was looking at me, but later I discovered that her eyes did not seem to fall on me, but on the side. He subconsciously looked to the side, but didn't find anything. Pei Anzu sighed and asked. Is your golden hair very special? Is there a bunch of dull hair on the top of its head? Yes. Yes, yes. Krypton gold changes fate's eyes suddenly lit up. Master Pei, you are really amazing. Can you even calculate this? I didn't calculate this, it was what I saw, Pei Anzu said. What's the meaning? It means that your golden retriever is right next to you, lying under the chair behind you, with its ears drooping and its tail wagging. Krypton gold changes life. His face stiffened. He knew that Pei Anzu was right. Behind this chair was golden retriever's favorite place. Every time he played games in the study, golden retriever always stayed with him here. The golden retriever's favorite actions are drooping his ears and wagging his tail. But, he couldn't see it. The viewers in the live broadcast room can't see it either. Where? Why didn't I see the golden retriever? There's nothing under the chair? The anchor will not talk nonsense. The last few fortune-telling live broadcasts have always been accurate. If she said the golden retriever is here, it must be here. Good guy, did golden retriever open up another world? I have an ominous premonition. The one upstairs, me too. Ominous premonition. Add 1, have you ever thought about what we can't see with the naked eye? Also saw the comments on the barrage, but he still didn't react. Why can't I see? Pei Anzu sighed and decided to tell the truth. Your golden retriever has passed away and has temporarily returned to your home as a soul and stayed with you. Golden retriever has a gentle temperament and doesn't have much resentment, so it cannot appear, so it cannot be seen by human eyes. And the reason why it persists is because its obsession has not disappeared. It told me that it once promised your grandfather that it would stay with you until you get over the knot in your heart and reconcile with your parents, and not to trap yourself because of his death. So even if it dies, it still comes back in the form of a soul. Krypton gold changes life. As soon as he heard this, he burst into tears. He didn't want to believe the news that Jin Mao was dead, but Pei Anzu said that he should reconcile with his parents. This was his grandfather's instructions before he died. No one knows except Grandpa and himself. But he remembered that before his grandfather left, the golden retriever was indeed beside the bed. This 18-year-old rebellious boy cried very sadly in the live broadcast room, which made the audience forget about his embarrassing appearance when he first appeared, and suddenly felt distressed. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 52. Chapter 52, Youngster's Heart. In the live broadcast room, the only sound left was the boy's whimpering. The barrage was full of comfort and persuasion, and no one was gossiping, because no one dared to make trouble in front of Pei Anzu, a real master. After the young man had cried enough, he raised his head and asked Pei Anzu. I really don't want to forgive them, but reconciling with them is my grandfather's last wish. Kingzu, immortal lord, can you tell me, what should I do? You are under a lot of pressure now and need to talk to relieve your depression, Pei Anzu said. Would you mind telling me the story of you and your grandfather? The young man hesitated for a moment and nodded. Since his grandfather passed away, he actually has a lot of things on his mind, but there is no one around him who can understand him. Now, the golden retriever left behind by his grandfather has died, which has become the last straw that breaks his mood. He doesn't care that the live broadcast room is full of strangers, so he can't wait to talk. The boy was raised by his grandfather. When he was young, his parents went out to work in order to earn money. Since it was inconvenient to take him with them, they left him in the countryside and depended on his grandfather. Grandpa lives in the countryside and makes a living by farming. His life is not rich, but it is stable. My parents only come back once a year for the Chinese New Year, and they leave their hometown after only a few days. The teenager asked them several times if they could take him with them, but his parents refused. They say that the city has a lot of expenses. If you support one more person, you will have more expenses. They also said that when they earn more money next year, they will take the young man over to live with him. So, the young man waited year after year with expectations. Every time he got the result, "I will definitely take you with me next year," but it never came true every next year. Over time, the young man also gave up. Because the boy spends little time with his parents and has weak feelings, he is only close to his grandfather. By the time his parents discovered that their child was no longer close to them, he was already in the 6th grade of elementary school. His mother blamed his grandfather for not educating him well and causing him to separate from his biological parents. He also said that Grandpa, a bad old man, had a bad heart. Just because he was not brought to the city to enjoy the blessings, he instigated the children not to get close to their parents. He was a bad heart. That day when the boy came home from school, he heard his mother yelling at his grandfather and saw his father's cowardly retreat. Grandpa was so angry that his blood pressure soared and he fainted. Grandpa is already old, and his health has collapsed since then. But the mother still said that Grandpa did it on purpose, just to deduct more money from her, and even asked Grandpa why he didn't die. These sharp words, word for word, were like knives, piercing the young man's heart. So the boy had a big quarrel with his parents. He said that his grandfather never provoked a relationship between him and his parents because they never paid attention to him. He could not feel the love of father and mother from them, so he did not get close to them. He said that if he had to choose between them and his grandfather, he would rather choose to stay with his grandfather and live in the countryside all his life. He also said that he would sever ties with his parents and never have any contact with them from now on. When the parents heard this, they were furious. They felt that the old man was brainwashing their son, so they forcibly took him to the city regardless of his son's wishes. After arriving in the city, the young man realized that high expenses and difficult life were all excuses. His parents had already bought a house in the city, had a stable job, and even gave birth to a younger brother. As soon as his younger brother was born, he had a nanny who took good care of him and provided him with food, drink, and clothing. Compared to him who lived a hard life in the countryside since he was a child, he is completely different. From then on, the young man felt hatred in his heart. The admiration for his parents and the desire to have them all disappeared in an instant, and he lost his sense of identity with this family. He is a marginalized member of the family, unable to blend in or be accepted. In his heart, his only relative is his grandfather. The teenager wanted to return to the countryside, but his parents didn't allow him. They sent him to a military-style school without giving him pocket money or a mobile phone. He cannot get out and cannot communicate with the outside world. In this case, he spent 3 years in junior high school, and in the summer vacation of the year he graduated from junior high school, he finally came out of that closed school. He defrauded his younger brother of hundreds of pocket money and ran back to his hometown. But what was waiting for him was not his grandfather's kind smile and warm embrace, but a patient lying on the bed, unable to move, and his bones were broken. It turns out that Grandpa accidentally fell while working in the fields. The old man is getting older and is most afraid of falling. After falling this time, his whole energy and spirit were taken away, and his body collapsed directly. What's more, Grandpa also broke his leg. If he could be sent to the hospital in time and receive good care, Grandpa could have recovered, but no one from those cruel parents cared about him. Not only did she not come back to take care of her, She didn't even want to get money for her medical treatment. As a result, Grandpa did not receive good treatment, and it dragged on day by day until he became like this. In the end, the young man only had time to see his grandfather for the last time. After seeing him, Grandpa's breath that he had been holding on disappeared in an instant, and he no longer had the motivation to live. At that time, the only people who accompanied my grandfather were the young man and a golden retriever that he had raised for many years. When my grandfather was dying, he saw that the young man was resentful towards his parents, so he said, "Xiao Yi, don't hate your parents, it's not been easy for them these years. They worked hard to gain a foothold in the big cities, now they finally have a small family business, and your life will be much easier in the future. You are not yet an adult, they still have the responsibility to raise you, and you will also have the obligation to support them in the future. If you and them are always at odds with each other, the family will always be filled with quarrels and hostility, which is not conducive to family harmony. Listen to Grandpa, forget these things, go back to the city, and live a good life with your parents. Reconciliation with them is also reconciliation with yourself. No one can live with hatred for a lifetime, that will be painful." After saying this, Grandpa asked Golden Retriever to take his place and stay with the boy, and then he died. Later, the young man invited the villagers to hold his grandfather's funeral and notified his parents to return to his hometown to attend. After the funeral, he took the Golden Retriever with him and followed his parents back to the city. He can't let it go, he can't forget it, and he can't reconcile it at all. I really hate them. After telling all the stories, the boy clenched his hands into fists. They gave birth to me, but they didn't care about me, and they blamed me for not being close to them. They were supposed to be filial to Grandpa, but they left him alone in the countryside and ignored him. They were not even willing to pay for treatment. They seem to be my parents, but their attitudes towards me and my brother are very different. They raised my younger brother carefully and paid close attention to his life and studies, but they left me alone. I rebelled, skipped school, and wore strange clothes just to attract their attention, but they treated me as if I didn't exist. Later, I became obsessed with games. Only in games can I find a sense of existence and identity. Every time I play games, only Golden Retriever is with me. After my grandfather died, he was my only relative in this family. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 53. Chapter 53. How did it die? The viewers in the live broadcast room were all made to cry by the boy's story. How could there be such parents in the world? Terrible. These parents are selfish and extremely cold-blooded. They don't care about the elderly or their children. Such people don't deserve to live in this world. Are you over 18 years old? If it is full, you can move your household registration out and live alone. You will have nothing to do with them in the future. When they get old, you can just give them some alimony every month. Little brother, don't cry, it's not worth it. Everyone comforted me with each word. The young man felt better when he saw the warm words on the barrage. He gradually stopped crying and thanked the screen. Pei Anzu saw that he calmed down and asked, "Are you very conflicted now? On the one hand, it is your grandfather's last wish, and on the other hand, you are estranged from your parents, so you don't know what to choose, right?" The young man nodded. "Kingzu, immortal lord, they all say that you are very powerful and you are very accurate in calculations. Can you show me a clear path?" Pei Anzu looked at him for a while and then said, "Metaphysically speaking, you do have a weak relationship. You have conflicts with your parents and are prone to quarrels and conflicts. Even if you force yourself to reconcile with your parents now, you will break up with them because of other things in the future." After hearing this, The young man breathed a sigh of relief. You're right, in the past few years of living with them, there hasn't been a day that we didn't spend quarreling with. I know what to do. I don't want to reconcile with them. I can never forgive them for treating Grandpa like that in my whole life. Have you thought about it? Pei Anzu asked. I've thought about it. The young man's eyes were firm. Actually, over the years, I have also figured it out. Before my grandfather died, he asked me to reconcile with my parents. It was just because I was not yet an adult at the time, needed to go to school, and had no ability to support myself. He was afraid that I would be driven by hatred and become rebellious, which would harm my future. But now, he is an adult and can take responsibility for his own future. He planned to follow the advice on the barrage and move his household registration. From now on, he would have nothing to do with this family. Pei Anzu is a member of Suanmen. He can predict the past and future and say whatever he finds. She has no principle of encouraging reconciliation but not separation. For a family with weak ties like this, separation would be good for both parties. If teenagers are forced to continue to get along with their parents, the conflicts between them will only get worse. According to the boy's original fate, when the hatred in his heart accumulates to a certain level but cannot be vented, he will act impulsively and do irreparable things. For example, killing one's father and killing one's mother. But Pei Anzu did not say anything about such a tragic future. She just stopped there. As for the boy's choice, it depends on him. His fate changed the moment he chose to move out of his household registration and break away from the relationship. This is good. Pei Anzu showed a gratified smile in his eyes, glanced at the golden retriever in the form of a ghost next to the boy, and spoke again. Now that we've finished talking about family matters, let's talk about your golden retriever. You spent 1,000 yuan and asked me to help you find a dog, then I have to start and finish. Do you want to know where its body is and how it died? The young man's attention was diverted and he immediately asked. How did you die? Wasn't it an accident? When you said it was dead just now, I always thought it was because it accidentally got into an accident after running away, so. Pei Anzu shook his head. It's not an accident. I suggest you call the police. The young man's expression suddenly changed. He is not a fool. Why did he have to call the police when a dog died? Unless the dog died abnormally. Pei Anzu's next words also confirmed his guess. Your golden retriever was stolen and then suffered cruel abuse. It stands to reason that the soul of such an abnormal death will become resentful, lose its mind, and seek revenge. But your golden retriever was thinking about you. After death, it turned into a soul. Instead of taking revenge, it chose to come back to you. It was afraid that after taking revenge, it would be contaminated with evil spirits, and it would cause harm to you when it gets close to you again. So, call the police. Whether it is animal cruelty or stealing other people's pets, they have reached the standard for sentencing. Pei Anzu looked at Jin Mao, with a flash of compassion in his eyes. The ghost will remain as it was before death, and this golden retriever's originally bright hair is stained with blood, and his body is covered with wounds. It looks like he has suffered a serious crime. Of course, she didn't tell Krypton Money to change fate in too much detail about the abuse. This young man had just cried once, and his heart was fragile. If he knew that Jin Mao died so tragically, he would probably do something irrational. It would be best to wait until he calls the police and the dog thief and abuser is brought to justice before knowing the truth. After hearing this, I asked Pei Anzu. King Zhu Fairy Lord, can you figure out where this dog thief is? If I can find his location and call the police, can the police come faster? You go out now and follow my guidance, Pei Anzu said, constantly calculating in his hands. First, after going downstairs, walk 30 meters west. The young man took his mobile phone, opened the live broadcast room, and followed Pei Anzu's instructions. Finally, I came to another community 500 meters away from my own community, an old community with less strict security measures and more tenants than owners. The environment here is not very good, and almost all the people living here are people who come to work from other places. Everyone is running around for a living and is exhausted. They are not familiar with their neighbors and are indifferent to others, which makes it easier for thieves to commit crimes. Krypton Gold changes life. Standing at the door of Unit 2 of Building 7, he dialed the alarm number. He did not think that Pei Anzu would make a mistake. Originally, he came to fortune-telling because he believed in the name of King Zhu, immortal lord. Since Pei Anzu said that the dog thief lived here, it must be here. After receiving the report, the police arrived within 10 minutes. When the young man saw the police arriving, he walked over to meet them and said, "I called the police. There is a in 402 on the 4th floor of this building. He tortures animals, not only stray cats and dogs, but he also steals other people's pet cats and dogs to torture them. My golden retriever was stolen by him and then tortured to death. Please catch him and avenge my golden retriever." The policeman was surprised when he heard this. He didn't know why he knew so clearly. But no matter what, since someone has reported the case, you must go and take a look. So, a group of people went up to the 4th floor and knocked on the door of 402. As soon as the residents of 402 saw the people in police uniforms, their expressions changed suddenly and they subconsciously closed the door. How could they have such a reaction if they had nothing wrong with them? The police noticed his movement immediately and pushed the door open with a fierce push. A strong smell of blood assaulted his nostrils. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 54. Chapter 54. There will be retribution. The floor in the living room was in a mess. The body of a small cat was lying there. The most important thing is that on the kitten's neck, in the pool of blood, there is a pet nameplate with its name engraved on it, called Dao Bao. This is a pet cat. The cat owner, whom the little sister or brother took care of in the palm of her hand, was tortured to death by this beast and died miserably. Krypton Gold changes life. Seeing this scene, I was greatly shocked and could not help clenching my fists with a painful expression. Did my golden retriever also die so miserably? The police rushed up, subdued the sadist, and said, "We received a report that someone was abusing animals here. They not only attacked stray animals, but also stole pet cats and dogs. It seems that the report was true. Search separately." So, under the witness of everyone in the live broadcast room, the police turned the sadist's home upside down. The resident of 402 is a slender, gentle-looking man who wears glasses. No matter who it is, their first reaction when seeing him will be that he is an honest person, and no one will suspect him of abusing cats and dogs. This is a house with 2 bedrooms, 1 living room, 1 kitchen, and 1 bathroom. Except for the bedroom where the man lived, the rest of the room was full of signs of abuse. Another bedroom was converted into a herbarium. As soon as the police entered the door, they could see densely packed animal skins, which was frightening. There were animal blood and hair in the bathroom. As for the living room, there was a large toolbox and dissecting table. The toolbox contained various torture instruments. The dissecting table was made of wood and was stained with blood. In the corner, there is also a video camera and a computer. This scumbag will take a video of himself abusing animals and then upload it to some internet for those with sadistic tendencies to watch. The whole room is filled with evidence. Krypton Money changes life. On the computer, he saw the video of golden retriever being tortured and killed. He was so angry that he rushed over and punched the scumbag in the face. He couldn't control his anger. Golden retriever was the only thought left to him by his grandfather. In an instant, the police were unable to catch him. Pei Anzu saw the scene from the live broadcast room, used the King's Sutra technique, and said to him, "Just punch a few times to vent your anger. If you continue to hit hard, you will get yourself involved. Such people will be punished. It is not worth losing yourself for him." It is wrong to hit someone, let alone in front of the police. If he only hits him a few times to vent his anger, the police may think that he has a good reason and ignore it, but if he really beats the person up, it will be over. Krypton money changes life. Now I believe in Pei Anzu, and he calmed down quickly after listening to her words. He gave the scumbag a final kick, and then said to the police, "I don't want to hinder you from handling the case, I just want to take my golden retriever home and bury it, okay?" The policeman was a little embarrassed and explained, "Except for a complete piece of skin, there's basically nothing left. I'm not sure if the dog meat in the refrigerator is from your golden retriever." They were all broken into pieces and it was indeed difficult to distinguish them clearly. "I'll just take that leather away." The young man was silent for a long time and finally spoke. The golden retriever left to him by his grandfather was the only relative in his heart, but he died in such a tragic way, without even leaving a complete body. Perhaps, God was telling him somewhere that it was time for him to make a decision. Grandpa died, the golden retriever was gone, and his connection with the family was cut off. He didn't want to live a life of inner suffering anymore. There are some things that he doesn't forgive, and they don't deserve to be forgiven either. The police found a box at the sadist's house, packed the golden retriever's skin and handed it to the boy. The boy left holding the box. After walking out of the community, he said to Pei Anzu and the audience in the live broadcast room, "Thank you everyone for today. King Zhu Fairy Lord, thank you for helping me find my golden retriever. I have already thought about moving my household registration alone, and then go to the Run Club to submit my resume. If I pass, I will tell you the good news as soon as possible. Run is a gaming club. It was invested and founded by the youngest son of a wealthy man in China. It specializes in attracting young people with superb gaming talents to form different gaming teams. This includes, but is not limited to, 5v5 team confrontation games such as Duel of Kings and Return of the Hero, as well as gun competition games such as Bai Li Kan Yi, which is about running in circles. I grew up with my grandfather in the countryside. The educational resources were not good and my academic performance was not particularly good. After being brought to the city, he could not keep up with the progress in the city, and his parents did not care about his studies. He himself also used some rebellious methods to try to attract their parents' attention. A variety of reasons combined to prevent him from changing his destiny through learning. But he is very talented in games. He played a lot of games in his 3 years of high school, and he was basically able to get into the national server, and this was only when he played casually in his spare time. If he could receive systematic training, he would probably have greater achievements. He is still young, only 18 years old, which is when a person is at his most youthful and prosperous. As long as he shows the corresponding skills, I believe the Run Club will accept him. Maybe the next time I see him again, it will be at various grand events. Okay, then I wish you immediate success. Pei Anzu nodded with a smile and said, "I sent you a private message, please remember to read it later." Krypton money changes life. Thank you again, and exited the live broadcast room. He clicked into the backend and saw the message column. Sure enough, he found that King Zhu Immortal had sent him a message. The golden retriever's soul is still with you, although you have a good relationship. After all, humans and ghosts have different paths. If it stays by your side for a long time, it is not good for your body and it is not good for its reincarnation. If it's convenient, tell me your address, and I'll come to you, help you bury the golden retriever, and give it salvation so that it can enter reincarnation as soon as possible. The young man was not worried about his health, but when he saw that it would affect the golden retriever's reincarnation, he immediately couldn't bear it and quickly replied, "Why bother you so much? I'd rather come find you." "You don't have to be polite to me," Pei Anzu said, "you are about to leave your family and you need money for everything. If you can spend less, it will be better. Please tell me your address." The young man pursed his lips, knowing that Pei Anzu was telling the truth. He thought for a long time before replying. King Zhu, immortal lord, my name is Cheng Jiao. I will remember your kindness and will repay you in the future. After speaking, he sent the address. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 55. Chapter 55, Being Haunted by a Ghost. After Pei Anzu received Cheng Jiao's address, he made an appointment with him on a time to meet. Today's second destined person hasn't arrived yet, and the case just now is being discussed in the live broadcast room. Damn it, I can't imagine that there are such terrible people in the world. What the hell? That man lives next door to my third grandfather's house. Horrible. Upstairs, tell me the story you know. My third grandfather just called my parents and said that a young man next door was caught by the police for killing cats and dogs. He also said that the young man usually looked gentle and polite, but he didn't expect to be so cruel. Oh my God. Fortunately, he only abused cats and dogs. If he also killed people, your relatives would be in danger. I know this man, his name is Lu Dong, he is my former colleague, but he was fired last month. It is said that one time he went to the leader's house to deliver documents and accidentally kicked the leader's pet cat. When my colleagues and I heard this reason at first, we didn't believe it. We thought he had offended the leader and deliberately made things difficult for him to wear small shoes. Now it seems that it may be true. Tisk, tisk, you know people and faces but don't know their hearts. Everyone lamented the cruelty of the and felt sorry for the young man Cheng Jiao's experience. Some people were quietly looking forward to the next destined person who would come to tell fortunes. But this time they didn't have to wait long. About half an hour later, colorful lights flashed on the screen again, and soon someone requested a video link. Pei Anzu clicked the call, and the face of the second destined person suddenly appeared on the screen. She is a young girl in her early 20s, her ID is low. She is petite, wearing a limited edition Lolita skirt, a large bow of the same color on her hair, exquisite makeup and a pair of big eyes, making her look very cute. If Pei Anzu hadn't been able to read faces, he would have thought that this girl was only 15 or 16 years old. The audience in the live broadcast room saw Lo Niang Shanshan and screamed one after another. Wow, it's Miss Lo. I've done some research on the little skirt she's wearing. A set costs more than 2,000. Another wicked rich man. Why do I feel that this destined person looks familiar? Looking at her ID, is she the Lolita blogger from the short video on TikTok? If you don't understand, just ask, what is a Lo girl? Wouldn't it be weird to dress so exaggeratedly? You don't have to understand the people upstairs, but you can't disrespect them. These days, you can dress freely. As long as you don't expose yourself or use color, you don't care what people wear? What's more, Lolita clothing is a kind of culture, just like the Hanfu of our Dragon Kingdom. I went to Douyin and searched, and there really is such a blogger with the exact same ID. Unexpectedly, before I had time to speak, I was recognized by someone. She blushed for a moment and looked embarrassed. Excuse me, what do you want to count? Pei Anzu looked at Lo Mother Shanshan for a long time and asked. Lo Mother Shanshan pursed her lips. King Zhu, immortal lord, I actually have nothing to settle, it's just that something unusual has happened to me recently. I don't know if it's my imagination. I saw a video of you beating up a ghost on the internet. I thought you were very powerful, so I came to you for help. After hearing this, Pei Anzu smiled immediately and asked. Have you often felt cold in the past 2 months? No matter where you go, it seems like a cold wind is blowing at you, but the wind is very uncomfortable. Yes, that's how it feels. Lo's mother Shanshan heard this, her eyes lit up and she nodded. Have you still felt that you have been feeling lethargic and in a bad state recently, and that the things and decorations in your home are changing places inexplicably? Yes, especially some of my skirts and hair accessories. I clearly remembered that I had put them away, but when I looked at them later, they were still in a mess. Lo's mother, Shan Shan, nodded affirmatively. Have you been unlucky recently? Do you often encounter small accidents? For example, falling on the ground, breaking a glass, etc. Yes, yes, everything you said is right. Lo's mother Shan Shan is busy asked, Kingzu immortal lord, so these are really not my illusions, right? In fact, Lo mother Shan Shan has some doubts about certain results, otherwise she would not come to the Metaphysics live broadcast room for help. Pei Anzu didn't show off and gave her a definite answer. It's not an illusion, you're just haunted by a ghost. She is a young female ghost, about the same age as you. She has been pestering you for nearly 2 months since she died not long ago. Her energy is not very high, so the damage she caused to you is limited. If it cannot be dealt with in time, the longer you stay with her, the yin energy will enter your body and cause harm to your body more seriously, it may be life-threatening. Uffle of frightened face immediately turns pale, she trembles and asks. How could a ghost haunt me? I have lived for more than 20 years and have never done anything bad. I occasionally rescue stray animals and give alms to beggars. I also pledged 10 poplar trees in the Northwest Wilderness. Although it's not a big merit, it's definitely not a bad thing. I don't know where I offended this ghost lady. As he spoke, Lo's mother Shan Shan started to cry. It was obvious that she was really scared. The audience in the live broadcast room had different opinions. Is today a special haunting session? The last person with a destiny, golden retriever, died and turned into a ghost and followed him. This person with destiny, also has a ghost following him. Little sister looks so beautiful when she cries. I don't believe that Lo's mother Shan Shan did nothing wrong. If she really had a clear conscience, how could she be haunted by ghosts? She must have harmed someone but didn't want to admit it, right? I agree with you above. She has done so many good deeds, but does she also know that she has done something wrong and wants to make up for it? You still have the nerve to ask for help? Hurry up and admit how you killed others. Kingzu Immortal is not a vegetarian. When she exposes you, you will not only be a social dead, but also a pair of silver bracelets. I have already taken out my mobile phone and pressed the alarm number. I will call the police, just waiting for Kingzu Immortal to reveal the truth. Looking at the barrage, she cried even more aggrievedly. She waved her hands repeatedly. No, I really haven't harmed anyone. Don't talk nonsense. I can swear that I have never done anything bad in my life. If there is even half a lie, I will die badly. Pei Anzu frowned as he looked at the words on the barrage, feeling depressed. She hasn't been a troll for a long time. These people seem to have forgotten her rules. So, she became angry and said, "Shut up, everyone. I haven't even spoken yet. What are you so excited about? Are you the police? You convicted someone without any evidence. Do you know what unknown full picture, no comment means? They all look like their brains are not fully developed, and their cerebellum is not fully developed. Why are they showing off their IQ here? The holes in their brains are as big as the Maria Trench. In my live broadcast room, you can either discuss the matter as it is, or learn to shut up, and don't talk nonsense here with your brains full of water." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune telling. Author, Wang Crisp Bone. Chapter 56. Chapter 56, Stealing the Property of the Deceased. The audience in the live broadcast room was sprayed and fell silent. They realized belatedly that the meaning of Kingzu Immortal Lord's words seemed to be that Lo Niang Shan Shan had not done anything bad. Then why are you haunted by ghosts? Pei Anzu didn't show off, she said to Lo's mother Shan Shan. You step aside and I'll help you ask the ghost next to you. After hearing this, I couldn't help but rub my arms. I felt a dark wind swirling around me, and my skin was covered in pimples. She stepped aside with a pale face. From the perspective of the audience in the live broadcast room, she exited the camera and only half of her body was visible. But in Pei Anzu's view, the person standing in front of the camera at this time was a female ghost. Tell me, why are you pestering her? She was not entangled with any evil force of karma before you, nor was she the murderer who caused your death. Even if you have obsessions and turn into ghosts, you should not get involved with her. The female ghost poked her head in front of the camera, sometimes looking around and sometimes behind her. Can you really see me? Are you not a fake master who sets up your personality? No need to doubt, I can see you, Pei Anzu said, proving that not only could she see ghosts, but she could also talk to them without any problems. The female ghost's eyes lit up and she suddenly became excited. Ah, great, finally someone can see me. Master, I didn't mean to pester Shan Shan. I am still a fan of hers. I am also a fan of Lolita clothing. I only fell in love with Shan Shan's video after watching it on TikTok. The reason why I followed Shan Shan was because the Lolita skirt she was wearing was originally mine. I wore it before I died. My obsession turned into a ghost and I couldn't go anywhere else. I can only be wherever this dress is. After hearing the female ghost's explanation, Pei Anzu couldn't help but frown. The clothes are dead objects, and they are not magic weapons or treasures that have opened up the spiritual wisdom. She didn't recognize it. It turned out that the clothes had an owner. But the clothes of the deceased should have been sealed in the coffin with the deceased, or simply burned, so how could they be left outside and worn on other people's bodies? The thought flashed past, and Pei Anzu turned to ask Lo Mother Shan Shan. Where did you get this Lolita clothes? Hearing this, although she didn't know what the relationship between clothes and being haunted by ghosts was, she still answered truthfully. I bought it second-hand from an online store. This dress is made by my favorite designer. She previously designed a series of steampunk styles, with a total of 7 pieces. As a low girl, I really want to collect all the skirts in this series. So, when she went on sale, I not only rushed to buy it myself, but also asked others to help me buy it. I also asked around who had bought it but didn't want it and could transfer it second-hand. I found this skirt in a second-hand shop 2 months ago. I was obsessed with collecting at that time and I had to buy it, so I placed the order without hesitation and waited for 3 days before the skirt came to me. Hearing this, Pei Anzu nodded. Then think carefully, did the strange things around you happen after you bought this skirt? Lo Niang Shan Shan frowned and thought for a while, then nodded. Seems like it. So, does the ghost that is haunting me have anything to do with this dress? Well, Pei Anzu said, according to what she said, she was wearing this dress before she died. She was about to wear this dress to attend a comic exhibition. Unexpectedly, there was a car accident on the road and she was sent to the hospital. After that, rescue failed and she died. When she regained consciousness, she would be in your home. Comic exhibition? Car accident. Lo's mother Shan Shan seemed to think of something. Is it the one on Yuchin Central Street 2 months ago? After hearing this, the female ghost nodded repeatedly. The time and place are right. Lo's mother Shan Shan is a little disappointed. I have heard about this car accident before. It is said that it was because of the crowd. A child accidentally ran into the middle of the road. A young lady stepped forward to save him, but she had an accident. This ghost's sister. The female ghost continued to nod. She indeed died saving people. However, the memory of the female ghost only stayed at the moment when she was hit while rescuing someone. When she became conscious again after becoming a ghost, she was already at Lo's mother Shan Shan's home. As for what happened in the middle, she didn't know how her clothes came to be sold second-hand. Pei Anzu checked the information on both sides, and then said, Give me the address of that second-hand online store. I have to figure out why the female ghost is so obsessed with it. I can't send her to reincarnation until the matter is resolved. Soon, Lo's mother Shanshan sent the store address. Pei Anzu clicked on the web page and looked carefully, but he saw that this store was very strange. It is not like other stores that have many products. The unsold products currently displayed on the page are only a brooch and a horn comb. In its past transaction records, it can be found that it sells a variety of products. There are clothes, shoes, jewelry, watches, second-hand big-name lipsticks, perfumes, etc. More importantly, the time when these products are put on the shelves is not fixed. Sometimes a few items are put on the shelves a day, and sometimes they are put on the shelves only once every few months. It's like, this is the owner of an online store, opening a store in the Buddhist tradition. Whenever second-hand goods are available, they are put on the shelves. There is no rush if they are not available, as if everything is left to chance. This Lolita skirt from Lo is also included in the transaction records. The clothes of the deceased. Pei Anzu stared at the screen with burning eyes, and counted with her fingers. She basically understood the cause and effect of this matter, so she said. Lo mother Shanshan, I suggest you also call the police. What reason should I give to call the police? Lo's mother Shanshan looked puzzled. Just say that someone stole the deceased's property and resold it. Pei Anzu said, the dress you are wearing is the best evidence. After the words fell, the audience in the live broadcast room was shocked. Stealing the property of the deceased? Is it tomb robbing? Nowadays, cremation and cemeteries are popular, but there are still people who can't think of robbing graves. I always feel that things are not simple. Mr. Kingzu, we were wrong. We shouldn't jump to conclusions without knowing the truth. Please tell us what's going on? Did the female ghost's family lose her clothes, pick them up, and sell them? There are different speculations on the barrage. Pei Anzu always speaks directly when he has something to say, and doesn't talk around in circles, so he opened his mouth and said. Not only the skirt Lo Niang Shanshan is wearing, but all the products sold in this online store belong to the deceased. Whether it's clothes, shoes, jewelry, lipstick, perfume, or watches, these things have one thing in common, they are easy to carry around. Think about it, under what circumstances can the property carried by the deceased be obtained? End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 57. Chapter 57. I owe her an apology. Contemporary netizens have always been very resourceful. Reasoning and imagination go hand in hand, making bold assumptions and careful verification. Soon, they deduced the truth of the matter based on the experience of the female ghost, the experience of Lo Mother Shanshan, and the clues provided by Pei Anzu. Death is divided into natural death and accidental death. Among them, natural death is either serious illness or death. If you are seriously ill, you will have to live in a hospital ward for a long time. You have to wear a hospital gown and receive treatment at any time. It is impossible to wear anything valuable. If the person dies, most likely at home, then the deceased's belongings are also in the hands of the family, and are unlikely to be wandering around and being sold second-hand. Then there is only one possibility left, which is accident. Based on the information that King Zufari received from the female ghost, generally speaking, if you encounter an accident, as long as you are still breathing, you will be sent to the hospital for rescue. It doesn't matter if they can be rescued. People who are not rescued will be sent to the morgue of the hospital as soon as possible after death, waiting for their family members to come and claim them. Even if a person in an accident dies on the spot, he or she will be sent to the police station or hospital morgue. During the period from entering the hospital to being claimed by family members, the deceased's belongings are unsupervised. As long as someone is interested, it is very possible to steal them during this period. Family members generally won't pay attention to where those things went afterward. Even if someone asked about it, they would probably think that it was left at the scene of the accident, or that they delayed treatment during first aid, so they picked it up and threw it away. No one would have thought that someone would steal these portable items from the dead and put them online for second-hand resale. This is what the skirt on Lo Niang Shan Shan is like. The audience, you and I, follow this line of thought and complete the entire storyline. Looking at the screen, she was dumbfounded in shock. Is it really? That's right, Pei Anzu answered in the affirmative, so, please call the police and find the person who stole the deceased's property for resale. If you catch him, maybe the obsession of the ghost around you will disappear. Now, Pei Anzu has almost guessed what the female ghost's obsession is. After death, the soul leaves the body. It should stay where it is and be guided by the underworld, but it is reincarnated in the underworld. But the ghost lady may not be willing to have the little skirt she bought at a high price to be taken off by a sinister person and kept privately, so she developed an obsession. After all, she has only worn this skirt once. I originally thought I could wear my favorite low coat and take beautiful photos at the comic exhibition, but I didn't expect that the plan fell apart before it even started. Now, you still have to watch others take away your little skirt without authorization. Thinking about it, you feel unwilling to do so, right? After hearing what Pei Anzu said, she felt relieved knowing that this female ghost would not haunt her forever. However, she still had questions, so she asked. I can understand the female ghost sister following me because of this skirt, but I don't understand why she wants to mess with my things and cause me misfortune. After hearing this, the female ghost also looked aggrieved. I didn't touch anything. I only touched her little skirt and low girl decorations. Mainly because I like it so much. She has a lot of out-of-print little skirts at home. As for those unlucky things, I didn't mean it. I'm a ghost. If I follow her for a long time, the yin qi will make her life difficult. But I can't live without her, and there's nothing I can do about it. Pei Anzu relayed what the female ghost said to Lo Mother Shan Shan, and then explained to the female ghost. She died to save people, and she has merit in her own right. She is not a vicious ghost, so she has no ill intentions towards you. She asked me to apologize to you on her behalf. You have been wronged during this period. Log already / after receiving the explanation, she didn't care about it anymore, and instead said generously. It's okay. Fortunately, she followed me and affected my life. That's why I made up my mind to come to Kingzu Immortal Lord for help, so that I could expose the truth about stealing the deceased's property and reselling it. If this incident hadn't happened, I don't know how many people would have been haunted by ghosts, and not every ghost would be as kind-hearted as the little sister. If someone else buys something from the deceased, and the deceased happens to be a villain, wouldn't it be so miserable for the buyer? I spent more money, but it still hasn't paid off. Subsequently, Lo's mother Shanshan did not hesitate and directly called the police. According to Pei Anzu's teachings, she claimed that someone had stolen the deceased's property and sold it for profit. After receiving the alarm, the police immediately paid attention and asked Lo Mother Shanshan to come to the police station to explain the cause and effect and cooperate in handling the case. Kingzu Immortal Lord, it may be inconvenient for me to live broadcast again. Lo Mother Shanshan said, when there are follow-up results of this matter, I will tell you in a private message. Okay, Pei Anzu nodded, but please tell me your address first. After the case is over, I will go find you to save the ghost next to you and help you get rid of bad luck. You can't let that female ghost stay with Lo Mother Shanshan forever, right? Lo Niang Shanshan nodded. After exiting the live broadcast, she immediately sent her own address via private message and thanked Pei Anzu repeatedly. Pei Anzu looked at the address and couldn't help but smile. What a coincidence. This Lo Mother Shanshan and the previous one Krypton Gold Change's life are both from Yuchen. She happened to be sending Golden Retriever to reincarnation, so she also saved the female ghost. After the second hexagram ended, the matter was still being discussed in the live broadcast room. At this time, I don't know which netizen was the first to mention. Lo Niang Shanshan is haunted by ghosts not because she has done anything wrong, she is also a victim, but I just swore that she was faking. Should I apologize to her? As soon as these words came out, it was like turning on a switch, and more people agreed. I scolded her just now. If I don't apologize, I might not be able to sleep tonight. I also apologize, we owe her an apology. I now understand that in King Zufari's live broadcast room, as long as she doesn't speak, never make a judgment easily. I still remember when we did the first live broadcast, we thought Wang Chen was a shill and scolded him, but it turned out that he was a poor man who had his academic achievements plagiarized and was about to die. There is also Zhu Yongming, who has a simple and honest smile. I thought he was a good person, but who knew he was a murderer? You are still struggling, but I have already sent a private message to apologize. You are the only one with fast hands. I also said sorry to Lo's mother Shan Shan. Pei Anzu looked at the comments in the live broadcast room. They were harmonious and normal. There were no angry sunspots or crazy talkers. What a wonderful world. She can't even get angry anymore. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 58. Chapter 58, Introducing Business from Old Customers. There was harmony in the live broadcast room. Pei Anzu looked at the netizens who were reflecting on themselves, with a smile in his eyes. In today's society, the development of the internet has brought a lot of convenience to people's lives, but it has also made the internet full of hostility. If people who watch her live broadcast can know that good and evil are rewarded, the cycle of cause and effect, and can restrain their speech, then there will be a lot less verbal karma in the world. This can be considered a kind of transformation, and if it can be successful, it can also be regarded as a meritorious deed. The time is approaching noon. Pei Anzu made himself a bowl of noodles, extravagantly added 2 ham sausages, and ate while waiting for the third destined person to come to his door. At about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a light flashed on the computer screen, and a line of words was displayed in the middle. A die-hard fan adventurer Xiaoying rewarded the anchor with a sea view villa. The audience in the live broadcast room was silent for a moment and left messages one after another. Adventurer Xiaoying? Why do I feel like the name is so familiar? She was still chatting with us in the live broadcast room this morning. She is a longtime fan of the anchor. She is the girl who was saved by the anchor last time when he beat up a ghost. She is the one who went to explore the haunted house. Ah, I remembered it. Why is she here again? Is this young lady with a supernatural physique? Or did he commit suicide and go to another haunted house? Good guy, this is an old customer. When Pei Anzu saw this scene, he paused slightly and took the initiative to open the microphone in the live broadcast room. Soon Zhou Ying's face appeared on the screen. Like other viewers, the first thing Pei Anzu saw was the background where Zhou Ying was. This time she was not exploring somewhere, but in a dormitory. From the camera, you can see what seems to be a university dormitory, with a bed and a table. There is also a computer and some books and stationery on the table behind her. Pei Anzu saw the environment clearly and his expression changed. What happened to you again? Why is there so much resentment around you? The word "and" is very wonderful. Zhou Ying paused and decided not to take the blame. She moved her phone, the camera angle changed, and the content on the screen changed. In the open space in the middle of the dormitory, there are 2 small tables put together. 4 girls were sitting around the small table. Their right hands are stacked together, holding the same pen. There is also a piece of paper on the table, which is covered with scratches from a black gel pen and a fingerprint. The 4 girls were pale and frightened, with fear in their eyes. Pei Anzu. Audiences. If I read it correctly, is the scene inviting a pen fairy? Good guy, you really can't do anything but die. There are always people who don't believe in this evil and insist on risking their lives to try urban weird news. So, listening to what King Zu Immortal Lord just said, there really are pen immortals in the world, and they invited them out, right? Isn't this the famous atheist dormitory in our school? Last time the anchor beat up a ghost to save Zhou Ying, but they didn't believe it. Zhou Ying looked at the words on the screen, turned the camera to herself, and explained to Pei Anzu. King Zu Immortal Lord, let me make a long story short and explain it to you simply. The people behind me are also members of the school adventure club. They didn't go to number 144 Longkong Road last time. They didn't have personal experience, so they didn't believe what happened at that time. They wanted to prove to me that there are no ghosts in the world, so they decided to invite a pen fairy, and they even wanted me to witness it, so that I could admit that it was you who was acting to gain fame last time. I tried to persuade them, but they insisted on going their own way, so I couldn't just watch something happen to them, so I came here. I have an amulet, and ghosts can't hurt me, so I'm with them. If anything happens, I can still ask you for help. Zhou Ying said it very clearly, and the facts did happen as she expected. 4 girls played a game to invite the Bixian. The Bixian appeared, and all the doors and windows in the dormitory were sealed, isolating the place into a separate space. Before they could ask questions, a handprint appeared on the white paper. This strange phenomenon is enough to prove that something invisible to them has arrived. One of them, who was timid, was frightened. He subconsciously let go of the hand holding the pen and wanted to run out of the dormitory, but found that he couldn't get out. No matter how she called the door, no one outside paid attention. Their voices and calls for help could not be heard, and even their mobile phones could not communicate with the outside world due to the influence of the magnetic field. Those who are familiar with the legend of Bixian know that the game of Please Buy Xian must be a complete process from the beginning to the end. Invite the Bixian out at first, and finally send the Bixian away completely. You cannot let go of your hands during this period, otherwise the ceremony will be interrupted, and the Bixian will stay with them and ask for their lives. But now, some of them let go midway and violated a taboo. At Zhou Ying's reminder, they quickly returned to the table, held their pens again, and were ready. As for Zhou Ying, she took advantage of this time and hurriedly came up to Pei Anzu for help. Pei Anzu. This was the first time that she was speechless. Although she was annoyed by these people who were addicted to food and wanted to commit suicide, her life was at stake, so she had to save her. Fortunately, Zhou Ying asked for help in time, and there was still room for improvement. So, Pei Anzu changed the live broadcast on the computer to the live broadcast on the mobile phone, picked up the mobile phone and car keys and walked out, asking as he walked. Since you hired a pen fairy, you should understand the rules, right? After Bai Xian is invited out, each of you can be allowed to ask one question. She cannot attack you until she has answered everyone's questions. So I want to know, how many questions have you asked now? No one asked how she died, right? You need to know the 2 most important taboos of asking for a pen fairy. Firstly, you cannot let go midway. Secondly, you cannot ask her the cause of death. If these people all break the ban, then Pei Anzu doesn't have to go. Before she gets there, Bixian will probably tear them apart. The 4 girls were so frightened that they could not speak. It was Zhou Ying who answered for them. 2 questions have been asked. After they let go, they realized something was wrong and quickly came back to sit down. At this time, Bixian urged them to ask questions. Just when I logged into the live broadcast room to top up and tip, 2 people had already asked questions, and the 3rd person said that he wanted to think about it again in order to delay time. They didn't ask about the cause of Bixian's death. But they only have 4 opportunities to ask questions in total. No matter how much they delay, they probably won't be able to delay you until you come over. From Shuyungan to F University, no matter how fast you drive, it will take more than an hour. Several girls' hearts went cold. They were both upset and regretful. They regretted not listening to the advice, insisting on committing suicide, putting themselves in this situation, and causing Zhou Ying to suffer. Pei Anzu breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. There is still a chance to ask a more difficult question and let Bixian answer it. What's the problem? Zhou Ying has now pinned all her hopes on Pei Anzu, hoping that Pei Anzu can give him a way to break the situation. Pei Anzu had already got into her car. She started the car, stepped on the accelerator and rushed out. She looked straight ahead with a serious look on her face. Let her prove, Goldbach's conjecture. Audiences. The woman sleeps with everyone? End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 59. Chapter 59, Pen Immortal Summons Souls. While driving, Pei Anzu spread the knowledge about Bixian to everyone, and warned everyone not to try to commit suicide easily. Bixian, named Xian, is actually a ghost. To put it bluntly, it is a kind of soul-calling game. The ceremony of inviting the Pen Immortal originally evolved from the Taoist Fuqi. It is a variant of an ancient technique and can be regarded as a simplified version of Fuqi. In ancient times, when people in Taoism encountered problems that could not be solved or evil spirits that they could not deal with, they would use the Fuji ritual to ask gods for help. Now Taoism also has a type of inviting divine talisman, which can replace the supporting ceremony. However, the people invited by the Orthodox Taoists are all disciples of the founder of the sect or the Sanqing Zhengshen. Later, this ritual of holding a quill spread to the people. After evolution and simplification, it became a pure spirit calling game, but it only attracted evil spirits wandering among the people. Evil ghosts and evil gods have no one to worship and have no faith. They wander between heaven and earth, like trees without roots. They have nothing to do with humans. But once they are summoned by humans, they establish cause and effect with humans. Under the restrictions of certain rules, they cannot easily harm humans. But if the rules are broken, they will seize every opportunity to become bloodthirsty and murderous to strengthen themselves. The so-called rules are also taboos. Before inviting Bixian, be sure to consult an information professional and ask clearly all the taboos. During the process, you must please and send as required. Otherwise, Bixian will be given the opportunity to kill. Zhou Ying's classmates do not believe in ghosts and gods, and have no sense of awe. They regard inviting a pen fairy as a child's play. They rush to start the game without any preparation and let go during the process. This is a big taboo. If they don't delay, they may all be dead by the time Pei Anzu arrives. After listening to Pei Anzu's suggestion, Zhou Ying quickly turned to several classmates and said, "Have you all heard what King Zhu Immortal said? Hurry up and do as she asks, she is on her way here." The third child in the dormitory swallowed nervously and spoke tremblingly. Bixian, I have thought about what question I want to ask you. Please answer me. How can I prove Goldbach's conjecture? Zhou Ying pointed the camera at several girls at the right time. They saw that the pens held by the four girls at the same time began to move slowly under the urging of an unknown force and began to write mathematical formulas. At the beginning, Bixian wrote very slowly. Later on, I wrote faster and faster, and even skipped the handprint in a very humane way, for fear that the written formula could not be clearly seen. After a while, I wrote more than half a blank page. The four girls had sore and painful hands, but they did not dare to let go and could only hold on tightly. The writing on a piece of white paper was quickly finished. Zhou Ying stood aside and handed over the second piece of white paper at the right time, allowing the pen fairy to continue writing. Pei Anzu drove the car very fast. She still figured out the smoothest road for herself and headed all the way towards F University. The audience in the live broadcast room was also very lively. I was in a supernatural live broadcast room, watching a ghost do math problems. You really can see all kinds of scenes if you live long enough. The anchor is mighty. Bixian can't kill before it answers the question, so ask a question it can't answer. Awesome. Isn't Bixian known as omniscient and omnipotent in the legend, knowing everything? Maybe we can really answer Goldbach's conjecture? Are you dreaming upstairs? The anchor said that Bixian was transformed from a ghost, and ghosts were also humans when they were alive. You can't prove it when you are a human, but you can prove it when you are a ghost. Goldbach's conjecture is a world-class problem. How funny would it be if it were proved by a ghost? But how do you explain that this ghost wrote so many mathematical formulas? The only explanation, this ghost was a top student in the mathematics department. There are different opinions in the live broadcast room. Everyone was chatting to lighten the atmosphere while waiting to see what would happen next. Bai Xian wrote for half an hour, and filled more than 40 pages with formulas and proof processes. The four people seeking death felt that their wrists were about to break, but their nerves were tense and they did not dare to relax at all, for fear of letting go again. This pine tree can cost you your life. As a result, Zhou Ying became an emotionless paper hander. When she handed the 49th piece of paper, the pen fairy stopped, as if it could no longer prove it, and began to scribble on the paper. The messy scratches show its violent mood. Seeing the scratches getting heavier and heavier, the pen tip scratching the white paper, and it seemed that it was about to explode, Pei Anzu spoke. The person who asked the question just now must affirm its answer and praise its achievements, and then replace the person with the question. Hold on, I'll be there in more than 20 minutes. The third child pursed his lips, suppressed his fear, followed Pei Anzu's suggestion, said a bunch of flattery, and then handed over the right to ask questions to the fourth child in the dormitory. The fourth child is the girl who is timid enough to let go first. Her eyes were red and she whispered. What should I ask it? Ask another mathematical conjecture? But if we let it continue writing like this, our hands will not be able to hold on. This is also a big trouble. Once she asks a question, the opportunity to ask 4 questions is used up. When their wrist reaches the limit and they can no longer hold the pen fairy will kill them and will never let them go like before. Everyone looked at Zhou Ying's mobile phone screen in unison, and looked at Pei Anzu expectantly. Then Pei Anzu spoke again. Let it write down the complete circumference of pi. As we all know, if pi does not cycle infinitely, it will never be finished. But if Bai Xian is asked to write down the complete circle of pi silently, it will only write from 3.14159 backwards until it can no longer write it out silently. And pi is a number, which is much simpler than the various formulas conjectured by Goldbach, and is less burdensome on their wrists. Everything went as Pei Anzu predicted. She arrived at the west gate of University F, which was the closest door to Zhou Ying's dormitory, in 22 minutes as quickly as possible. Which building and dormitory are you in? Pei Anzu got out of the car and ran towards the school. Building 8, 311, Zhou Ying answered. At this time, Bai Xian's dictation of pi has also come to an end. It cannot be silent anymore. When it once again drew horizontal lines back and forth on the white paper, becoming more and more irritable, the temperature in the entire dormitory dropped sharply. Except for Zhou Ying, everyone else felt a biting coldness. The next second, a figure hung upside down from mid-air and landed in the middle of the 4 girls, with its head at eye level with them. This head turned 360 degrees, and then cracked a weird smile. Ah, there's a ghost. She was still the timidest girl. She was startled by the sudden head. She dropped the pen in her hand, took a few steps back quickly, climbed onto the bed, and got under the quilt. The pen was loosened again. On the ceiling, the figure hanging upside down was laughing gradually, and it rushed towards the third child closest to him. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 60. Chapter 60 The Ugly Flower. Zhou Ying is a person who has seen the world and is barely stable. Seeing Bixian rushing towards him, she rushed over and stood in front of Lao San. At the same time, she pulled out the jade pendant hanging around her neck, held it in her hand, and pretended to resist. The next second, a golden light flashed from the jade pendant, knocking away the pen fairy ghost that rushed towards him. The jade pendant was faintly hot. Zhou Ying said to the others, "You all hide behind me. My amulet can still block it for a while. We will definitely be able to hold on until the Qingzu immortal lord comes over. In times of crisis, human potential is unlimited." The girls who were so frightened just now that their legs were weak and unable to walk, saw that there was hope for rescue, so they hurried over and hid behind Zhou Ying. Zhou Ying stood in front of us like a protector. Her figure was slender, but she gave everyone a sense of security. "I'm sorry, Xiaoying, we shouldn't have disobeyed advice." The boss of dormitory 311 apologized to Zhou Ying with a trembling voice. Zhou Ying sighed and said, "I'm not qualified to blame you after all, I went from disbelief to belief. I hope that after this experience, you can all learn something from it." At first, she herself was a person who did not believe in the existence of ghosts. Otherwise, she would not have joined the adventure club and adventured in some haunted house or deserted house. While they were talking, the pen fairy ghost had launched another attack. "A talisman that has been opened. I underestimate you, but you still have such a good thing, but I don't know, can you protect everyone?" This last sentence was what it said to Zhou Ying. The moment the words fell, it rushed over. Just when Zhou Ying raised the jade pendant and wanted to resist it, she found that it turned around and headed straight for Lao Si on the bed. That's right, the fourth child hid under the quilt first and didn't have time to hide behind Zhou Ying. She is alone. The pen fairy ghost possessed her. The next second, Lao Si, who was possessed by the pen fairy ghost, came out of the quilt, got out of bed with a grin, and walked toward the balcony step by step, saying as he walked, "You throw that jade pendant into the toilet and flush it down, otherwise I will control her body and jump off the balcony. The third floor is not high, so she may not fall to her death, but don't worry, I will definitely find a good angle so that her head hits the ground first." He hit the ground head first and was hit so hard that there was almost no chance of survival. This fairy ghost is so cruel. The audience in the live broadcast room saw this scene, their hearts were raised, and they were so nervous that they forgot to breathe. Don't throw it away. Throw away the amulet and all 5 of you will be dead. Don't save her. It's all her fault that made you like this. The first time she let go first, and the second time it was her again. Death is not a pity. Compared with 4 lives, this sacrifice is small. She may not die if she jumps, but without your amulet, there is really no hope. It is better to delay the time and wait for the Qingzu immortal lord to arrive. Sister Xiaoying, I'm ready to call 120. Don't let that ghost threaten you. If it really manipulates your classmate to jump, I will definitely ask 120 to rescue him immediately. On the barrage, people advised Zhou Ying not to be threatened. Bai Xiongui had already walked to the balcony and opened the window. "Are you going to watch her die? Since none of you want to save her, then I will help you. It just so happens that I haven't swallowed a fresh soul for a long time. She is dead, so I just happened to swallow her." After saying that, Bai Xiongui will control Lao Si's body and jump out of the window. However, it failed to jump down. Because a person came in through the window and kicked the pen fairy ghost out of Lao Si's body. "Pei Anzu, here we are. She wears a Nyo mask and looks like a god. The fourth child was possessed by the pen fairy ghost. He became weak in an instant and fell limply to the ground. However, Pei Anzu caught her and pushed her to Zhou Ying. Keep an eye on her and stand far away. Zhou Ying and several other girls quickly took the fourth child and left the central battlefield. Pei Anzu then focused all his attention on Bai Xiangui. Let me see, which blind kid is doing evil here and harming others. Oh, he turns out to be a wretched man. After finishing his words, Pei Anzu took out a few talismans and struck them at Bai Xiangui. When the talismans were close to Bai Xiangui, they spread out, occupying one area in front, back, left, and right of it, forming a circle, and constantly shrinking inward. Bixian was not slow to respond. It wanted to break out of the encirclement before it was formed. Unexpectedly, the talisman was very powerful. Just as it was about to run away, a golden light emerged from the talisman, hitting its body and burning it. The ghost body that was originally relatively solid suddenly emitted black smoke, causing it to scream in pain. Bixian stared at Pei Anzu fiercely and accused. I am the pen fairy. They summoned me. They broke the ban, and I collect the reward according to the rules. What's wrong? You stinky woman, why are you meddling in other people's business? Pei Anzu pushed her right hand forward, and the circle of talismans shrunk a little. She sneered. You, an evil ghost, still have the nerve to call yourself an immortal. You can sneak into the women's dormitory and act like a gangster by taking advantage of others' invisibility and using the body of a ghost. This is really a toad marrying a frog, an ugly flower to play with. After death, if you don't go to the underworld and be reincarnated properly, wandering around the world pretending to be gods and ghosts, it's like pretending to be a turtle in a salt jar, but you'll have all your time. Take the ghost binding talisman. After saying this, the four talismans surrounding Bai Xiangui simultaneously rotated around it and emitted dazzling golden light, forming a cylindrical cage after a moment. The pen fairy ghost is trapped in a cage, with golden light shrouding its body. It's like a ghost encountering the hottest scorching sun, corroding, burning, and melting, and black energy emerges from the body of the pen fairy ghost. At first it was very strong, almost covering its face. Later, the black air was purified by the golden light, revealing the original appearance of the pen fairy ghost. A boy with short hair and a handsome face wearing glasses. Senior Lu, the moment Zhou Ying saw Bai Xianggui's face clearly, she looked stunned. What? Do you know him? Pei Anzu turned to look at her. Zhou Ying pursed her lips and said. I don't know him, but I have seen his photos and reports. He should be Lushija, a genius senior student in the Department of Mathematics who is 5 years older than us. I heard that when he was in school, he participated in many mathematics competitions on behalf of the school and achieved outstanding results. His deeds are still on the honor list. It's just that Tian was jealous of Yingke when he stayed up late to calculate a very difficult math problem. He suffered a cardiac arrest and died suddenly. From then on, the math genius became a legend in our school. I did not expect. Unexpectedly, Lushija, who died suddenly, did not leave the school. Instead, he became a ghost because of his unfinished obsession. Today, he was summoned again by the ignorant female dormitory as a pen fairy. The audience in the live broadcast room all heard Zhou Ying's words and couldn't help but feel a little sad for a while. Pei Anzu formed a seal with both hands, and the cage formed by the four talismans instantly compressed quickly and became the size of a table tennis ball, carrying the soul of the pen fairy and ghost, flying into her hands. End of this chapter.